They're called single rock dams.
There's lots of ways to build them, and most of them are wrong.
Guess what? People have already figured it out.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. We're gonna have to
Look at those rock dams!
This blew out pretty bad.
Womp womp. What's up, guys? Welcome back to BizBone. When we bought acreage in southern Arizona, we wanted to be stewards of the land. And after living here for 2 years, we learned that a big part of that is slowing down and stopping erosion. And the reason is erosion is what causes land to turn into a desert. And if you don't stop erosion, it becomes a big problem. It'll turn into something like this. This is an arroyo. This started out as a tiny trickle of erosion, and it became canyonized. And as the water kept flowing year after year, it turns into just a giant channel. It gets wider and wider and deeper. Now it's carved down to the bedrock. There's like no reversing this without probably $1 million. So we're gonna find other pieces of our land that we can prevent from turning into this. This is Ethan, our neighbor, who's also an expert at rock dam building and kind of erosion control.
At least like 3 to 5 acres of water kind of all converging into this little channel here. So over time, water is really powerful. It might not seem so in a single year unless you have a lot of water, but every year of water flowing in these areas and finding the low spots, they're just gonna etch away. And the more concentrated the water is, the faster it moves, the more erosive potential it has. So right now we're in this channel where you can see between the ancestral soil height, which I say ancestral just meaning like pre-colonization, our soil height was probably up here, and over time it's now subsided a couple feet, which isn't good, because if this was a flat floodplain, water would move slowly and it would move evenly across the surface. Now it's getting all channelized into this narrow space, and it's starting to really carve. And this is essentially a drain plug for the land, because all that water is rushing to meet equilibrium, to meet like the same height. So it's all coming down this low point as fast as it can, and then it's shooting out. Versus if it was in a floodplain, it'd just be moving slowly. A way to kind of bring yourself back up to more of a floodplain condition is you identify these spaces where the water is kind of collecting and channelizing. And then you can use what they call single rock dams to slow water and start to capture sediment to bring back the height of that channel closer to where the ancestral soil level was. There's some really important tenets that you want to follow when you're building these, because I've built a lot of them, and I've built a lot of them very poorly. And it's not about how many you can do, it's about building a few really solid ones and then going from there. And you know, these can be used to fix like issues with your roads. They can be used to rehydrate the land and help, you know, local fauna and flora. Here it's kind of a both and. This channel further up crosses their road, and it can be an erosion problem further up. So we're addressing it down here because the height of this channel will eventually keep eating back towards the road and create a gully that goes all the way that direction in 10-20 years. Basic principles is you generally want them to be 4 to 5 rocks wide. 5 is what I'd really recommend. The first rock layer is going to be what you call the splash guard. And you can see the splash guard you want to be level with the height of the soil here. And this is really important. Don't skip this. Dig a little trench out and make sure these rocks are more or less level. This one I didn't worry about quite as much as the other one. The other one's a lot more level. I just did that because this is eventually going to get covered with sediment from that rock dam, so it's not as crucial. But your first level is going to be that splash guard, and once this pool fills, the water is going to come up and over, and then it's going to come off these rocks, right? Well, if that's hitting dirt, it's going to scour. So your water's coming off and it's gonna scour, and then all these rocks, eventually, as this hole gets deeper and deeper, the pressure of the water pushing forward will knock those rocks in, and your whole dam can blow out. So that first layer is really important. Level, have it be completely filled in, flat, all that stuff. The next level, you want to have decent sized rocks, but not your biggest rocks. Because you want the rock dam to more or less be a ramp rather than a big flat shelf with a big drop off. Because otherwise the water's moving fast enough, it'll just go past the splash guard and it'll start eating behind that. So make it a ramp. Another really important tenet, you know, make sure this is more or less flat with itself, because the flatter it is, the more the water will actually spread out evenly. If there's a low point on this, like if this spot's lower than over there, the water's gonna go there. If the whole thing's flat, it'll encourage the water to spread out, which is better because, you know, water concentrated, like I said, has more scouring potential. The other thing I really like to do is, as I'm working, really filling in all the cracks with small gravel and bigger rocks and stuff. So that way it's more or less like a big shelf rather than a bunch of rocks that have gaps in between them. You might not believe it, but one little gap between these rocks, water's just gonna go between those. Well, you want it to be like a single monolithic structure, but you really want it to be tight. And when you're placing the big rocks, you want the flattest side touching the bottom, as much surface area. You want them touching each other. You want to lock them in like a Tetris puzzle as much as you can. And yeah, like I said, after they're locked in, you're still gonna have little gaps. It might not feel important, but I'm telling you it is. It's really important, because you would think, oh, it might fill in with sediment. Well, what ends up happening is water just finds those cracks and it eats away, and then all of a sudden you have like an area where the water creates like a sinkhole or something under your dam.
Actually remove the sediment, you end up with just a rock in the middle of a river, huh?
Right. And then another really important thing I just wanted to point out that I didn't really like consider much when I was starting to do these, because I'm an idiot. I didn't like really do my research when I started making these, and I had to watch my mistakes and like, oh, I read about this, but I didn't think it was that important. But like, make this the same level, and that means these cracks in between the rocks, they may not seem important, right? But this crack, right, say like right now it kind of goes into that, but say that crack continues on and there's nothing here to stop it. When the sediment comes in and fills up, because what's going to happen is this is slowing down water. Water's carrying sand, silt, and clay. Sand, very heavy, it'll fall down to the base of the structure very quickly as that water slowed, and some silt and then some clay, but most of the clay is just going to be suspended in the water. This is going to basically fill in with sand after a couple big storms, and the sand will fill up to the level of the rocks. If your biggest rock is 7 inches tall, you want this whole layer here to be around that same height. But say if there's a 2 or 3 inch deep crack between these two rocks, well, that's going to only allow your sediment line to fill up to the bottom of that crack. So that's why I add these little rocks here to just kind of key it in. And now, ideally, if this structure works the way I think it's gonna work, it should capture about 7 inches of sand. And now you're like, okay, where do I go from here? Well, you're building your next rock dam in the series. The top of this rock dam should coincide with the bottom of your next one, right? So ideally is once this fills in with sediment all the way to the top, it's going to cover this splash guard up to about right here with sediment. And now this is your new splash guard for this rock dam, and so on and so forth. So this top of this one should coincide with the bottom of the next. And when you add another layer on top of this, so once they fill in with sediment, you can add more rocks. You can keep building up your channel. So right now, you know, after this year, we should be able to build this channel up about 7 inches. Well, next year, if we want, we can add another layer of rock, and then we could bring it up another 7 inches. And maybe after 2 or 3 layers, it's back up to the floodplain height.
This is a whole 24 inches deep, or at least probably more.
Right.
So it will take several seasons to build this up.
Exactly. I would say at least 3 layers till I would feel good about this being more or less done. And you know, a really cool thing is, like I said, it's all filling in with a lot of sand and organic matter, some silt. This is going to be a giant sponge, because once this fills in with sand, sand's really porous, and if it's a big flat area with a lot of porous material, every time it rains and water flows over that, it's just going to sink a ton of water into the ground. So it adds a really nice hydrating effect while also getting rid of the erosion potential and reversing your erosion from the past. Just some really important things that I feel like we're not, I didn't believe were important. And I really wish I had somebody be like, they are so important. Don't f***ing do it the way you think you know how to do it. Because guess what? People have already figured it out. And you don't have to figure it out again. You're not smarter than all the other people who figured it out. And I made that mistake.
Well, that's how we learn.
You know, yeah. So just be humble about it, because I wasn't, and I'm telling you, it'll make your life easier down the line. Because now I've had to go back on my property. I put in like over 650 of these things, and I've had to redo a bunch of them. And a lot of them have just like, they haven't been able to capture their full potential over the many rains they've been through because I just didn't build them properly the first time. Oh yeah, one other thing is, as you're building them, like I said, you want them to be more or less like a flat structure, because if it's high on the sides and it's low down here, you're just gonna convince the water to go over here.
Yeah.
But if it's flat, you know, it's just gonna spread out, and then when the water comes over, it's coming over the whole structure rather than just the center point. Because what that could do is cause a bunch of water to funnel in right here and dig out a channel right
The
there.
whole goal is to widen the flow, right?
Right.
Yep.
So
It is gonna spill over.
So, you know, like I said, your biggest rocks are down here, and then you're getting slightly smaller ones, and then by the time you get up here, you're like, you want to kind of key it in so it's like more or less flat with this edge here, you know. Yeah, if you could take a laser level to this, I'm sure you'd find some things that are off, but in general, you can eye it, get down, you can be like, okay, this is like, it's a little low right there, so I can add something or whatever.
We'll really know after the next inch, or if we get an inch of rain,
Right.
we'll come out here, we're gonna see exactly what it's doing.
Right.
That'll be the test.
If your property looks like this, or it hasn't gotten this bad, and you want to start reversing those trends, here's an easy, low-tech way to do it. And the good thing is, you're not like, even if you don't do it perfectly, you're not going to probably create a catastrophic failure. Because guess what? If this thing blows out, it's only holding a little bit of water back. If you build some big structure with concrete and gabions and all that, and you don't build it perfectly to a T, like well engineered, you can create a flood that creates catastrophic problems downstream for you. So start small, be patient, build it up.
Even if this fails, we'll be right back to where we were.
Right.
That's actually smart. I didn't think about that.
Right.
Man, well, thank you so much for showing this part of it. Like, is there anything more you have to add to it? This is amazing to learn this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just something you really want to play around with and be patient. Like I said, learn the principles, do it the way people have been doing it. If you want to ask me any questions, you can they can put my email in the description. Also, I have an Instagram.
Yep, we
it's
will.
at barefoot_biological. Usually I'm barefoot, but the ground's like 150 degrees right now.
His Instagram's amazing, actually. I'm gonna follow it.
It's mostly ecology stuff.
Yeah,
but
which is really, really cool.
yeah, I talk a lot about like watershed ecology and restoration stuff, and yeah, get out there, go find spots you care about. It doesn't even have to be your land. It could be somewhere you care about
You could
going.
do it on BLM.
Right. You could, I mean, you know, that's not legal advice. But, you know, just don't get caught if you're going to do it somewhere where you don't have a permit to do it.
And you're only moving around the materials that are already here too, which is kind of
Right.
one and another. Don't have to bring out, you know, $100,000 worth of rock. You could find
Right.
something. on the
Sometimes it
land,
is
move around.
necessary if you don't
All
have
of
the
this
rock.
is from our own land.
Yeah.
Ethan, thank you so much for showing these guys and showing us what to do. And we're not done. We cannot wait to show you guys what this looks like after the first rain. Look out, it's coming over the mountain. This is wild, baby. It's gonna hit it.
Ooh, I don't know if this is gonna be rain or just dust, but
That is dirt.
ew.
Wow, that's a boot. We're filming a super nice time lapse of this stuff.
Oh shit.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. We're gonna have to go in.
Woo! It is coming down. Look at those rock dams. Woo! All right, guys. Here's the dams.
Look at this. Holding up perfectly. Yeah, this looks fantastic. Look at how much water that's holding up. All of these paths were just absolutely ripping before Ethan put these dams in. I would call this a success so far. We're gonna come out and look at it after the rain.
Yeah, this is something we need to redo. It's like, it's okay, but it's not the best rock work.
Now that we learned like the proper way to do it, we're gonna go back and redo a lot of our old rock dam stuff that we had thought was done properly. This is proof that there's lots of ways to build them and most of them are wrong. Check this out. Water holding right there. That's bringing sediment in. That's gonna like grow grass on the edge. You know, this organic material. Look at these. Look at the level of this. This has got
Yeah, boy. Great.
We've got it down to like a trickle down here, and above it is like a little pool. I mean, there's literally a foot of difference, and it's just trickling through the rocks very, very slowly, which allows a lot of this to recharge back into the ground. All right, well, it's been a couple of days since we put these in. We got one massive rain and then we got another rain last night that was about 1 inch. So it flowed again. We got even more soil deposited into the dams. So I want to show you the results of what it looks like now. This is all new soil that got brought in. Look, it's all the way level to the top of that dam. It's completely level.
Yeah, this right here is
This
like
is
look at.
Oh, this? Yeah.
Well, no, like look, like you can see like how much
got deposited?
Yeah,
Oh,
how much
absolutely.
got deposited.
Not just that, but like on this low side, if you look, this is the flat rocks we put in that we were calling splash guards are completely buried by all of this. This is all new deposit. That big old mound is new deposit. And if as you go down, each of these is like terraced a little bit now. Like there's a giant deposit, and then in the next one, you can see the deposit forming as it gets to the bottom. So it's kind of leveling all these grooves out and creating some terraces, and hopefully trapping water in the ground and putting lots of seeds and stuff in so things will grow.
We really want to also add grass seed, native grass seed to this. We just don't have that right now, but eventually, maybe later on this monsoon or next year, we want to put some extra seed down.
It may be too late in this monsoon.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
we also are going to still learn a little bit more about rock dams, keep tuning these up so that we can add seed as we do that. But that also brings us to how we're going to finish this video. And we want to show you the dam that we built originally before Ethan came over and did these and showed us the proper way to do it. It is destroyed.
Amateur hour, folks. This blew out last night. Over the last 2 days, this blew out pretty bad.
Womp womp, big time. Like this is, look at it carved down into our driveway because we don't have any splash guard at all. These rocks, all these rocks that were part of the dam were just pushed out across our road.
Yeah,
it actually carved away
all
more
these
soil.
rocks were over there.
Well, these were actually part of the road here.
Yeah.
It just carved away all of the topsoil away from it. And that's because of this right here. This was ripping through there. And it created turbulence, which is like the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You end up with like a heavy water flow right here, and then there's no soil left. So that would be our future of our entire land if we didn't build some proper dams. So we're going to take this apart, rebuild it the correct way.
Yeah, apply what we learned.
And see how it looks. Come on, guys, let's build.
dug this up from the desert. All right.
Nice. That's good.
Try and go around that.
Happy monsoon season, y'all. Catch you on the next one.